Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the next recap video. Today on the menu is an absolutely awesome game between Grandmaster Wei Yi and Grandmaster Hoodie, correctly known as Anish Giri, who is a very keen advocate of wearing all kinds of hoodies. So to actually recognize that, I've got two things on top of the usual things to do and show you. One is that I am wearing a hoodie. So I'm doing it better than he does, especially because I'm a Chessable hoodie dude, believe it or not. But by the way, this story goes back a little bit, so I will show you what exactly I'm talking about. Giri actually posted a poll a fair while ago about what is the most acceptable attire for a game of chess, or rather for a chess tournament, and hoodie definitely won the race ahead of a suit. So that is the reason why our good friend Mr. Hoodie is called the Mr. Hoodie, and now he is playing against Wei Yi, a super exciting Sicilian, by the way. Wei Yi stuck to his guns yesterday and played this h3 variation twice back to back, and whilst I am no opening theoretician, definitely not compared to these guys, I have to say that this whole concept fails to impress me, especially against a legend of the Naidov, who even might have a chessable course. Anish's Naidov course is very well known. So yeah, the opening is very similar to the English attack, but the h3 move thrown in creates a fair few notable differences, which I'm going to highlight as we proceed. So g4 is normal, and then the first and most important difference is going to be that whenever anything is landing on d5, it will be defendable by bishop g2, because there will be no pawn on f3 to block the way. Overall, very sensible play by both sides. White is about to continue the attack on the king side, and black is piling up for a queen side aggression. King b1, prophylaxis, rook b8, and now, according to my mighty engine, it was time for white to continue the aggression on the king side. Instead, however, knight d5 was played, promptly captured, and promptly captured again. A cute tactical point, which of course Wei Yi saw, and that is that in case of queen d5, Anish will take the knight on a5. Now this is where we see the clear point. This bishop is quite useful in these structures, and the light squares now have become quite weak. In fact, the light square diagonals have become quite weak in this position, which is definitely the form of compensation that Wei Yi was looking for. So after queen a5, he plays bishop d3. The engine insists on the gung-ho style h4 and running the pawns up towards the target. But bishop d3 is a very human move. Queen c7, queen e4, creating a checkmate threat on the diagonal. G6, h4, and here Anish did something really awesome. The engine doesn't like it, and that is again a testament to no one cares about the engine. I mean, we do every now and then, but equally we must have the ability to ignore it. So knight c5 was played, and after bishop takes c5, Anish played the really clever d5. I love this move, and the engine doesn't. But the concept is so beautiful to a human mind that you must admire it and actually recognize the genius behind the concept. The concept is the following. After bishop takes c5, we are landing in an opposite colored bishop scenario. And whilst a lot of club players and lower rated players know really well that opposite colored bishop endgames tend to be very drawish by nature, there is an equally important rule that we must know about opposite colored bishops, and that is that in opposite colored bishop middle games, whoever has the initiative is essentially a clear winner. And the reason for that is that because usually when we create threats, we create them on a certain color complex, and if I create threats on light squares, black will not be able to defend. And likewise, if black were to create dark square threats, my light squared bishop is useless in defending them. So now it becomes a very particular race where whoever is going to be able to create threats on their dominant color complex will be the winner and chicken dinner. So what does this d5 do? What it does is that it extends the diagonal of the bishop towards a3 and actually actively involves the bishop on e7 in the proceedings. In strong contrast, after dc5, if I slide this bishop to queen to g4, then maybe h5 ideas become prominent. I don't know if c4 is playable here. I guess the engine will jump on me and tell me it's horrid. I wanted to demonstrate a case where this bishop is an absolute ripper, and you can see that this guy here, on the other hand, is blunted by its own pawn. And that's precisely the scenario that Anish, I think, wanted to avoid. And so he plays d5, and only then does he recapture on c5 with the queen. Now, of course, it is an invitation for a queen trade stirring towards a likely draw, but Wei Yi was in a fighting mood, and he dropped the queen back to b3. But now things have really sharpened up. So now here comes the attack by Anish, a5, and here comes the attack by Wei Yi, queen h3. And from here on out, we are in an absolutely epic race where whoever gets to the other's king first is going to be victorious. Let's see. Needless to say that extreme accuracy and tactical vision will come handy in this race. h5 takes a3, takes g6. By now, of course, when we were commentating this with the lovely Tanya Sachdev, whose tactical vision, by the way, was really impressive throughout, we got really excited. Like, we were so much into it because we knew that this is gonna go bonkers. And at first, because we were not really relying on the engine, we didn't quite know where this was going, because apparently after rook b2, king a1, the only sensible operation appeared to be to sack this rook somehow. But after rook check, king takes, queen check, king a1, we ran out of checks, and consequently we are getting mated and we lose. And as we were trying to figure out what was going on here, Anish, of course, unleashed the absolute genius h5, or rather check here and then h5 idea. Wow, my word, what a concept. And in order to admire and actually to appreciate fully the beauty and the depth of this move, we need to eliminate first the silly response, which is queen takes h5, which demonstrates immediately Anish's very clever idea, and that is check, king takes, and now it's a forced mate, check, king here. Don't pull the trigger too soon on the rook b8 check, because then the king goes for a walk. Instead, a2. This is the very clever idea. Believe it or not, the sole purpose of this move is to actually vacate the a3 square. So essentially, this is a clearance sacrifice. King a1 is forced, check, and now we see the point. The queen comes to a3, and after king b1, rook b8, it's going to be mate next move. So, no queen takes h5 is possible. Unfortunately for Wei Yi, he tried g takes h6, but this was also really, really bad, because after f takes g6, he had no way to stop the attack. But in order to show you what attack I'm exactly talking about, let's have a look at the other move here, which is g takes f7. Now, it turns out that rook takes f7 is the most accurate defensive measure, after which the game sort of fizzles out into a draw. But I wanted to try to play this for a win with king g7. And just to be clear, the main idea here for black to play for is none other than play queen b5 and then rook a2 check and queen b2 checkmate. This is the plan. Now, queen h5 still loses to the same motif that we tried before. So let's see what the best is for white. According to the engine, it's queen g3. The queen removes itself from the h5, thus opening up the path for the rook to take on h5, but at the same time keeps an eye on the crucial c3 square. Remember that that's where the queen penetrated for this zigzag checkmate pattern. And now I have got a line here with queen b5, which demonstrates the idea beautifully. By the way, this is so deep that right now, after queen b5, the engine immediately jumps to 0-0 and stays on 0-0 for like at least half a minute before it recognizes this absolutely insane line that actually leads to white's advantage. Check this out. So the brutal threat is rook a2, followed by queen b2. So white must play a move that covers the b2 square, and that move is queen c3. So now I no longer have the checkmate, and so the best I can do is to hassle the queen. Shoo, go away, queen, so that then we can go for some aggression again. And queen says, nay, nay, brother. Rook h5. Holy cow, that's a mate in one threat on h7 with the rook. So if black foolishly takes the queen, it's mate. But black instead goes, well, actually, no. I'm gonna play rook b1 check. Yeah, you see that, right? And whichever piece takes back, I'm gonna take on c3 with a check. And I'm gonna win. Nah, sorry, no, you are not. King a2. What an absolutely mind-blowing variation that is. Casually just king a2 out of a check when queen is hanging, rook is hanging. No worries. Take whichever you like, it's mate. And so black carries on, check. And now if I go back to a1, it's a perpetual check. So white must capture if they want to win. And now queen c4 check. Absolute crazy mayhem on the board. King a1 loses to ab. Obviously queen b3 gets captured. King b1 has to be played. And now black captures e4. Because taking on b2 still allows the mate. And after queen e4, the white queen is still hanging, by the way. Here comes the absolutely crazy finishing move. The only move that wins for white here is the marvelous rook h4. Yet another counterpunch, ignoring the hanging queen on b2. And if black plays something other than queen e2, which is the only move to stay in the game, such as queen takes h4, then after queen takes e5, it is all over red rover. After king takes rook d7, check. If the king goes back to g8, we have got mate. And after king g6, the worst case scenario is that we check the queen down and win the game again. So the long story short is that after taking on f7, king g7 as a winning attempt doesn't work. And in fact, rook takes f7 is the best way to play this game for white, for black now. And after g6, rook takes f2. Once again, both kings are utterly exposed. And I think that the end of this shenanigan is going to look like this. Rook h5, and then comes the check. And now I can't take with the king, because then we get mated again. So I have to take with the rook. And there comes queen c3 check, king a2. And after rook takes c2, bishop takes, queen takes, we have got the most peculiar check, 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 perpetual check. Now this would have been absolute bananas if this occurred in the game. Unfortunately it didn't. So what happened in the game instead was that after the genius pawn h5, once again that move can only be played by a fair dinkum hoodie wearing chess gangster. That's what that is. So yeah, h5 takes h6, and now after the retake, basically there is no good way for white to stop the plan of queen b5 and rook a2 check and then queen mate. That's it. There's just not a good move available. Queen g3 was played, king h8 was played, very prophylactic and clever to remove the king from the various checking ideas that then can mess with the b file. And that's all she wrote. Now queen b5 followed by the mate threat on a2 can't be parried. So he played rook h3, but after queen b5, actually I think he lost on time here. I think that everything I'm adding now is just makeup. Yeah, I'm making that up. After king h8, he lost on time. Actually, I wanted to model the winning line for you. So rook h3, queen b5, queen c3. Again, trying to cover b2, but now comes rook b8, creating a new mate threat on b1. And after rook h1 back, a2, the rook b1 mate threat cannot be properly stopped. And so that's how Anish Giri, Mr. Gangster Hoodie, won this game and actually took the lead, which he kept, in fact, till the end of the day. And as a result of that, he's going to go into the knockout stage as the first player, or rather the winner of the preliminaries. The competition obviously continues today. I'm no longer commentating, but that is going to allow me to actually have a proper sleep after 3 days of staying up all the way until 6 a.m. So that hopefully will mean better and more YouTube videos for you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Don't forget to like, to sub, to comment, because they help me a lot. And remember, I told you this, so after the recap videos, I'm going to come at you with some really awesome coaching videos. Stay tuned. I will be back soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.